episode of the Habibis.
Live streaming episode.
Live episode of the Habibis.
Oh, yeah.
3 game developers drinking Arab tea. My name is Rami Ismail. I'll be your host for this episode.
And my name is Fawzi Rami.
And I'm Ahmed Salama.
Wow, we did it. We did it. We did it live. That's
live
scary.
at devcom.
It's scary. We can't edit this.
No.
We don't really edit it anyway.
I mean, we have the intention.
We have to, sometimes we say we might edit. And then, there's like 2 seconds of editing.
Yeah, but is that like a double scare? Because like we usually don't curse. And now we shouldn't curse? Because maybe that goes against the devcom thing.
Oh yeah, we should check.
Yeah.
I can't promise anything.
I'm not
going
check.
to make any promises.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. I like the setup. We're like in this little plastic
everybody
enclosure.
can stare at us. It's terrifying.
Yeah, as people pass by, we can say hi to people. But people like, what's happening?
Don't you have like the Arab urge to get out and like say hi? And
yeah,
like
it's
salam
like,
alaikum?
I need to come. I gotta hug
Yeah,
something.
no,
Hey, come over here. Have a little bit
Sit
of
with us, sit with us.
Have a little bit of this thing that I can't show the logo of. No, I will drink it very
product placement.
Carefully.
Fawzi has been talking for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
So he's done. No more speaking for Fawzi.
And I'm still gonna be here for 5 more days.
We just
this
started.
Is so funny. We just started.
Because maybe to give some context, like we're at
what are we doing?
devcom.
Yes.
Which is an extension / sort of attached to gamescom.
Yes. It's a developer-focused gamescom event in which like developers talk to developers, talks, workshops, mingles.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. It's always one of my favorite parts of being in Köln.
I've done a talk in every devcom.
Yeah.
So ever since before devcom there was GDC Europe, and then after that stopped, I was at every devcom basically doing a talk or more. Yesterday I did like an AMA with the volunteers. So
yeah,
really
I heard
nice.
that the volunteers were so happy to have you. Yeah, I came across the
I have a
volunteers.
talk today at 5.
Nice.
My first.
Oh.
Actually, we should make sure introductions happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Give yourself who are you? What do you do?
Okay, I'm Ahmed. I'm a content director at Ubisoft HQ, and previously UX director. Worked on a bunch of games that you might know: Killzone, Horizon, Zero Dawn, and Battlefield, and such.
I've heard of these games.
And I've been actually a guest on the podcast here before, so some of you might.
It's a reoccurring Habibi.
Yeah. This is my third, I think, or fourth or second.
Third, I think, right?
Third.
Yeah.
So happy to be here. Happy to stand in for Osama.
That's
and
you just have to do the really deep laugh every now and then.
Yeah.
And cap. Where's my cap?
Yeah. Oh, we did not bring the cap.
I did bring a cap.
Fawzi is the cap.
I have the cap. I'm the standing cap.
Yeah.
But also like
also the stand-in bald one. Also.
Always. Always.
Right.
And like I like that Ahmed is like on the Habibi height standards. In which like, I'm always the short one and 2 giant people.
To be fair.
And Ahmed just happens to be another giant person.
Fawzi, you couldn't see or hear this, but right before the live stream started, Fawzi managed to take a selfie where he leaned forward so much that he looks like the tall one. Expect that photo somewhere on his Instagram or something.
No, it's going to be on Twitter as
Finally.
well.
It's
It's
gonna
going
be
to
everywhere.
be a page in which I'm actually that tall. Hello, everybody's around.
Finally the tallest Habibi.
You know, I've seen the making of like
the Lord of the Rings. Yeah,
you
you're doing
know?
the perspective.
And I'm like, I
Gandalf the Grey.
could pull off a Gandalf. Why not?
That's funny.
I mean, since we're on the live stream, maybe not everybody knows what the Habibis actually is.
Right. Yeah, let's explain that.
Let's talk about
Let's talk about the Habibis.
Let's introduce the Habibis.
What is the
Let's roll
Habibis? What
backwards.
is the Habibis?
What
Let's
is
go
the
back.
Habibis?
So the Habibis is a podcast that was created by myself, by Fawzi, and by Osama Dorias, the third game developer, who sadly couldn't be here this year.
Yeah.
Actually, last year was the first time all
3
three
of
of
us
us
were
met
in the
one
same
place.
location.
Yeah,
We did a live panel last year also for the podcast.
That was cool.
At the Congress.
that was really cool. So the Habibis is basically sort of a 3 Arab game developers. It was just all of us are Arab. When we started in the games industry, we didn't see a lot of people that looked like us, sound like us, had our cultural background. It's still not a lot, but
Still not a lot. But
we kinda-
we can fill a podcast worth of them at least.
Yeah.
right. We kind of realized at some point that we wanted a place that felt like a bit more ours. We didn't have one. We started talking about playing Captain Tsubasa, which was
came out on PS4. That was good times.
PS4 football
During the
anime
pandemic.
football game.
Yeah.
Anime football game.
Really
Captain
big in the
Majid.
Middle East.
Yeah.
Really big in the
And
Middle
that was dubbed into the Middle East as Captain Majid, which is how all of us knew it.
East. Yeah.
So we wanted to play that game together. Eventually, we realized that us just talking
Yeah, that was
fun. And then we did the middle-aged people thing of starting a podcast.
Of course.
So
can't be 3 dudes without a podcast.
it's important. It's important. So we started the podcast, and then we just really quickly realized there was so much community around that.
Yeah.
Really was looking for this home, but also a bunch of really cool stuff happened. Right.
So much.
First of all, people started collecting Habibis.
I love that.
Trying to meet all of us at different video games events. That's cool. We realized that so many cultures around the world
share
stuff with us. Like, some of the good stuff, like the food, and some of the weird stuff, like the slippers being thrown at you.
Yes, slipper snipers.
Slipper snipers, aunties, that kind of stuff. So
I was talking the other day about this could be potentially an Olympic sport.
Oh yeah!
Imagine if snipper sniping, and it'd be like the podium would have three moms, like in veils and stuff, and they have like the plastic flip flops, wearing a golden medal.
And it's like the timer starts the moment the slipper leaves the ground.
Exactly.
So you're getting all those advanced auntie techniques where they flip it into their hand.
They should just take part in what do you call it? Frisbee golf.
Disc golf. Oh, that's not
flip-flops.
Disc golf with flip-flops.
That's not even fair anymore. That sport would stop.
Imagine
if aunties got involved.
Imagine acceptance speech. I want to thank Allah for giving me the
children to practice on.
The good for nothing children for me to be able to practice my aim day and night.
With and without reason.
How do they all have that? Like I swear I'd be like running away maybe like a yards. Like a football field length.
Right, and still hit.
And my mom would still be able to catch me at the back of the head.
Corners.
But honestly, that's it. You go up the staircase and the thing just... Remember that Hitman clip of the suitcase getting thrown after the jet ski guy? Yes. That's it. That's 100% it. But
that's true.
So we've done this podcast for over 100 episodes. Two years now?
Yeah.
2 years? Is it 2 years already?
We started in 2020.
That's
late 2020.
Yeah, so two and a half years.
2 years and change now.
And it's been a really good time.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a really good time. Each of us works in game development. I've been an independent developer. Fawzi has sort of been everywhere throughout games. Started as a indie in the Middle East, and then via Japan. And if you follow this man's career, you can draw the entire world map. It's ridiculous. And then Osama, who's sort of also started a little more indie, but it's mostly been on the AAA side for most of his career.
Currently at Blizzard. Ex Warner Brothers, ex UB. So
it's been really fun just talking in games, media, movies, music, food, so much food.
Yeah.
Do not, if you happen to be Muslim, do not tune in during Ramadan. Don't listen to old episodes because a lot of food conversation.
Yeah.
Continuous food conversation.
I mean, we also, speaking of Ramadan, we also did a bunch of Suhoor Bites.
Suhoor Bites, which was really cool.
We were we wanted to have a place for people listening to the podcast during Ramadan. So we're celebrating a tiny little bit of content every night for people to listen to Suhoor during their time. And a lot of people mention how much they relate to that kind of celebration of the culture during that month.
So that's the Habibis.
That's the Habibis.
That's the Habibis.
So how it usually works is that we spend a lot of the time just talking about anything.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. At some point we talk about games and then we diverge from there and stuff happens.
And then Osama, the third Habibi, gets really excited about emails.
Yes, he gets super excited about emails whenever we get any.
So if you're listening to this and you decide to listen to some Habibis, or you want to make the third Habibi that is not here today very happy, you can always email us at info@thehabibis.com.
Yep, you can find everything about us on all the previous episodes at thehabibis.com.
Actually, yesterday we missed you, Rami, because Fawzi and I were having a late night after conference get together, and we ran into a bunch of American pilots, and we were like, "This was," and they were 747 pilots,
747 pilots,
an air crew, and we thought about you yesterday. So
I fly small airplanes, which is why they would like to have me there, I guess. But that's super cool. I was biking around the Netherlands yesterday and came across a guy that was flying model airplanes.
Ooh. Cool.
That's also really cool. I never really considered that, but they basically work the same as airplanes.
Model airplanes. What's that like?
They're basically just like a meter wide toy airplane.
You can crash them without dying.
Yeah, but
can't?
also they are expensive.
You can't?
They are
That
expensive.
doesn't sound right.
You know what we should have checked before we started?
Yeah.
Is how long we have.
I mean, like, I think the guys will tell
Until
us.
they start waving at us,
Yeah,
like,
the guys will tell
like
us.
behind the
We
camera.
can wrap it up.
I have a hard out. I think 4:30.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, let's just go because there's video games. There are video games.
You've been playing video games.
I mean, I refinished Final Fantasy 16.
You refinished.
I refinished Final Fantasy 16.
Because your mom was playing it.
My mom is also playing it. That's a completely separate story.
Oh,
though.
separate.
Final Fantasy 16 has a New Game Plus mode.
Okay.
And I have to say, that game starts getting good. Like, it's good. It's a good game.
It's a good
It
game.
starts getting exceptional in New Game
Yeah.
Plus.
Ooh.
Really?
When you have all the abilities, you can like really creatively like mix them together. You can create like really weird combos. They don't care as much if you break the game anymore.
Okay.
So it kind of changes from like this sort of like narrative with cool Devil May Cry gameplay to a Devil May Cry game with a cool Final Fantasy narrative.
Is it on par with like the materia system? Kind of. I've not played it. I know
No,
nothing
it doesn't
about
really go that in depth. It's a fairly shallow game compared to Final Fantasy standards, right? You don't have like a materia system. Your build crafting is fairly limited. I have to admit, it's fairly limited.
Yeah.
But like in the New Game Plus, it does kind of matter. Like, you know, before you go into a fight, reconfigure your abilities or your icons or your summons and make sure that you can actually go. So I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed finishing the game. I platinumed it.
Oh,
So I got a platinum trophy.
Nice.
My 8th one, even though 3 of them are doubles.
Did you need the new Game Plus to platinum?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. To be fair, though, New Game Plus goes really fast.
Okay.
All specced out. You can. You
Yeah,
can run
yeah,
it.
it goes fairly
You can
fast.
run it.
It goes fairly fast. So yeah, Final Fantasy 16. I still really love that game.
So
I have to
we
say.
spoke about it briefly on last week's episodes, but like, you know, let the recap for Ahmed say because he hasn't played. So Rami and I really liked it. We both played it and finished it. He's now apparently finished it twice. What we thought as like areas of improvement for this game is that like the new action and RPG mix are cool, but they don't go too deep in action or too deep into RPG.
Right.
So it's this really interesting mix of those two genres that don't go deep on either.
Right.
So it's still an interesting experience that we quite both enjoyed, and I'm now like looking forward to Final Fantasy 17.
Right, where they go a bit more in
Where they
depth.
go like, you know, push both good things into great things
Right.
on
Does
the
it
next
still
iteration.
feel Final Fantasy? I've not played it at all. Does it feel like a real Final Fantasy
That's
game?
a really like the question. I feel like in the community it's quite divisive in how
Right.
that's being
Let's-
answered.
I feel like for the first 2 hours it doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy game, and then after that it's just straight up a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like there's enough of the fan service of what makes it a Final Fantasy game that you
Ifrit
can
and
still
Shiva and-
identify with
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
But they've also evolved it on so many levels that you can still see that if you're like a hardcore fan that are expecting certain things, you might not find them in this game.
Right.
You know, and that obviously disappointed some people, but
Right.
for me I always like creativity, like to allow people to kind of push the boundaries
Yeah.
of what the game is. Like this is how we evolve like genres over time. You know, sometimes it lands,
And
sometimes it misses.
doesn't. Yeah.
But you know, you learn a lesson and you
sometimes
push it
it's
in
a
another direction.
Step between the pivot, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe
Yeah.
maybe this is a step towards something that will land.
Exactly.
Did you come across that lore bit where the cactuars lived in the north and they all went extinct?
Yeah, I like that.
I was just like, okay, they're
I
dead.
like
I'm
that.
like, okay, well,
I like that a lot.
okay, fair enough.
And that's also kind of part of what we touched on also last week. Like the game has a really interesting narrative system in which, like, unlike most previous Final Fantasies, which they would pretty much tell you everything you need to know about the game, in this one you kind of need to research some stuff yourself, like about the lore, the world, and all of that stuff. And they have an active system that will bring up like bits of information. You can bring it up at any point in the game, and then it will bring you all the information you need
So
about the
UI.
context where you're in.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
So like let's say like two characters are having a conversation in a location and you talk about a person. You click the touchpad on PS5 and it'll bring up 5 balloons that has the location you're in, the two characters are talking, the third character you're talking about, for example.
Right,
And then you
just
can
click
read up
them.
it's like
about
the
that.
Amazon
Yeah,
feature.
yeah, the
When you
Amazon
pause-
X-ray,
yeah,
X-ray thing.
X-ray.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
It's
Yeah.
like
Very
that.
clever.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. No, but I have to say the second playthrough is much better. And
I want to give that a go actually.
because they kind of force you to actually engage with the action systems a bit more than they do in the first playthrough.
Yeah. Ooh, last week we wanted to talk about Vemba.
We did want to talk about
but
Vemba.
we didn't want to spoil it for Osama.
I played it.
You played Vemba?
Yeah, I played it.
So all three of us played
All three of us played it.
But we didn't want to spoil it for Osama.
I played it on a flight in 2 hours or so.
It's a
on
short
in
game.
the
Yeah,
air.
it's a
I
short
played
game.
it in
I
the
played
air.
it on flight
Alright,
as well.
so for everybody, we're gonna go into Vemba, I think.
Yeah, let's do
And
it.
then we're gonna go into Vemba again on another episode with Osama.
Yeah,
Because I would also love to hear what Osama
we'll
thinks.
hear what he has to say.
So,
You
Vemba.
go ahead. I played this game and I was thinking of you, Rami, the entire time. I was like, this must have hit home quite a bit.
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. I mean, so the Vemba team reached out to me like 2 or 3 years ago to sort of like talk about the idea for a game, and it was already a very interesting game. This idea about cooking culture, like connecting with culture.
Food
But,
again.
Always food.
Always food.
It's a fairly short experience. Now that it's out, it's
Yeah.
made by a small team in Toronto, Canada, and all of them have if I'm not mistaken, a Tamil background.
Yep.
Basically, it's this very short narrative experience where you play a mother primarily, or a woman that is to be a mother in the nearby future at the start, and you try to make recipes.
Yeah.
And they're all real recipes. They're all from the culture that this mother is from. But they're using the mechanic really as sort of like an interactive foundation for the narrative. If you've played something like Unpacking, very similar sort of idea. The mechanics are very critical to the game, but they serve...
Also an excellent
Yeah.
game. Habibis is game of the year, I think.
I think,
or runner-up at
top
least.
three.
Top
at
three,
least, yeah.
easy.
Very little fail states. It's an experience.
Right,
Like it's
yeah.
not like it's it's almost a puzzle game. Almost.
Yeah. I was blown away by it. Genuinely blown away by it because
Beautiful art, everything. Yeah.
the way that game, and I think we're gonna go into spoilers a bit because
Yeah.
I have to talk spoilers for this game.
Yeah. Skip 10 minutes if you don't want spoilers.
Right. If you don't want spoilers, just go check out some of the other Twitch streams. I'm sure there's another Twitch stream
For 10 minutes. And come back.
and then come back. But yeah, no. I mean, for such a small game, I think that had more impact on me than most games I've played in my life.
Yeah.
Because it's very much a game about reconnecting with culture,
It's
right?
too close to home.
The mom has left her homeland to move to Canada in search of a better life.
Yeah.
Her and her husband are realizing that they're pregnant, they're going to have a child, they're not sure if this is the best place for them to stay, whether they should go home. And they kind of commit to staying in Canada to give this child the best chance they have. And as the kid grows up, they sort of lose contact with that culture, right? Despite their parents' efforts, sometimes overbearing, sometimes like maybe a little too loose.
Yeah.
The kid doesn't actually take away much from their culture and actually ends up resenting their culture for being the thing that makes them different.
Yeah.
And throughout the game, the mom sort of grapples with that. A lot of things happen in life. Eventually, she decides to sort of move back and like eventually they reconnect. And that arc is so beautifully told throughout the game. But I have to say, there's one moment that broke my heart.
Yeah. There's a couple.
This just absolutely shattered my heart.
I had to keep it together a couple of times.
Yeah. You know, we were on the plane, go like, I'm just sniffling a bit.
Yeah,
It's the
and
aircon.
then
It's the aircon.
looking
Dry
like
air.
us and looking a little distressed on an airplane. Just not
Not a good idea.
not a good idea.
Oh, there's a
not
very
there.
nervous Arab guy on
Yeah,
this
that's
plane.
probably not. That's not it. That ain't it. So the one that really got me though was the feast, the feast level. There's something about me that whenever anything is about like the relationship between a parent and a child, it always gets me because I know my parents tried really, really hard in really weird circumstances. My mom, Dutch, married to an Egyptian in the Netherlands, disconnected from his culture, but like wants to impart his culture on us. But it's not quite the culture of today. It's the culture of when he left, and even the way
Frozen
he
in time.
remembers the culture is not the culture that it is now anymore. So there's no place where his culture exists except for him.
Where it's home, you know, like home is not necessarily a location. It's where it is with the person.
And then for me, I grew up obviously in the Netherlands, being half Egyptian, and that had its beauty. I had better food than all my friends. It also had its problems, right? Like I mean, racism
Random checks
is a real thing. Random checks, random checks everywhere. So
having a CIA agent following your podcast.
yeah. Hello, hello,
hey.
Agent Smith. How are you doing? Good to I hope you're doing well. It's a little different that it's life. Please do not enter this booth. But you know, the idea of resenting your heritage. I had a period in my life where I felt like that, where I was like, I wish I could just be normal, right?
Yeah.
Like, and just fit in with everybody.
Yeah.
And you know, seeing that from the parents' perspective in this game, gosh, that hurt a lot.
The feast, specifically the feast, like
that one is heartbreaking.
Last week I went home to Amsterdam, where my parents live, with my son, so that he could visit his grandparents. And my mom, as soon as I arrived, there was a table covered in every single Egyptian food that you can imagine.
Yeah.
Mahshi, mloukhaya, frère, everything. And it's like a big table, and we didn't eat it. Because it's like we arrived late, and it's like ate some of it, but it, like, now that you mention it, the feast, it just hit me like she spent a week preparing.
I called my mom after that level, because the feast level is sort of this sort of like turning point level in the game where you actually, the entire game, you're like really carefully preparing all these meals, and it's like this sort of like little puzzle. And the feast level, you're kind of really summarized making a lot of dishes, and I think it's meant to sort of portray this sense of momentum and joy in the cooking. The music is joyful. You're making all these different dishes. Yeah. The table fills up. There's all these, and then the kid
doesn't show up.
Cancels last minute, and I just cry. I just bawl. I just imagine every single time. I called my mom to cancel last minute. I called my dad to cancel last minute. I didn't show up at a thing at my auntie's. You had to like brew me up. Like it was, I was done.
Now that's the point when I like, you know, the sniffling intensifies.
I couldn't.
Yeah, the minute I landed, I called my mom as well.
Yeah,
like you gotta make that connection.
Let's eat some food soon.
It's really what I love about this game is that it showcases the hidden struggle that first, second, maybe even third generation immigrants always face. Yeah, is that like we all have that need to belong, the need to feel accepted, and you know. The parents would want to still maintain like a sense of identity as well, as we also, or like the second, third generation, try to carve out their own sense of identity wherever they are, and like dealing with both of these topics of like belonging, finding out what home even means at this point, and like carving out their own sense of identity. It's such a complex topic, and the guilt, like you know the rejection of the identity, then re-embracing it, like all of that stuff. Is a real struggle for a lot of people. That is not necessarily like, you know, hardship in the purest form of it, but it is hardship nonetheless.
It is hardship
that a lot of people still go through, and for a video game to be
able
to
right, because it feels like a very individual.
Even though we all go through it,
we all share.
And that's what's so cool that the game tackled it, because then it's like now it's not a lonely thing anymore.
It's shared now.
It's shared.
And it's really nice that, like, you know, in a what people would wrongfully think of video games is just like these are mediums for power fantasies, right? And this is one of those examples of games that tells you that this is a medium that is way beyond just that. This is not just escapism. This is not just power fantasies. This is an artistic and cultural medium that can convey super complicated, nuanced topics. In making you make,
and because in the game as well, like we both have Egyptian heritage. You could take the game as it is and replace
the meals,
and it works. It works. They can franchise this thing into every culture, and probably will feel the same. Maybe not every culture, but like a lot of them.
Yeah, this is, you know, we were talking about that earlier about the podcast. Like when we started making a couple of episodes, I think one we were talking about how we all have a WhatsApp group with aunties.
Who send us gifts.
Send us gifts and like flowers and stuff like that. Yeah. And then when that episode aired, we started getting like mail and contacts from people from so many different cultures. cultures that apparently have the same WhatsApp groups.
Let me check. Let me check because I'm sure I got one earlier.
Yeah, I must have
flowers
gotten a bunch.
puppies.
Yeah, flowers, puppies,
glittering hearts.
Here.
Have a blessed
I don't
day.
know. I don't know which camera is live right now. Let me find.
It's that one.
Here we go. There's
an
flowers.
example of that.
And this is just more flowers. This
Glittering
is just
red
my
hearts.
auntie sending me. My auntie sending me flowers, and that's just
Pictures
that's
of
just how it
chocolates.
goes. And it turns out we all have that.
Yeah, and I think that's also one of the beauties of Vemba also as a game in which like you could see how we all live on the same planet. And like we all need to eat at some point, and there's food culture that kind of ties us all together that we can relate to. And I think this is one of the beauties of the game is that they really identified that and use that as a core mechanic.
And they're so sincere.
So sincere.
Because that's the thing, right? You could water it down. You could try and make it global. You can try and make it, but they just committed to this is our experience and we're going to talk about it, and we're not going to shy away from the uncomfortable parts because admitting that you rejected the culture that you're now trying to reconnect with. That's a big thing to admit, right? Like, and it feels shameful. There's guilt attached to it, and to embrace that. And turned it into a game. I thought it was incredible.
Is it one author or one person that wrote it? Or
no, it's a group. It's a group of
group effort.
Yeah, it was a group effort. When I met them, they were 3. I think they're now more.
Okay.
But like an artist, a programmer, and a designer writer.
That's funny that they
contracted a musician as well. That
they together made something like that probably fits all of their experience. But then. Because when you play it, it feels like a singular thing.
Right.
Like this is authored by someone.
Right.
But it's probably not, and that's the.
I mean, like seeing how much we all related to it, it probably is a testament to how much of a shared experience it was for these guys as well.
Yeah,
true.
No,
it was, and it was incredible to watch this game release and land the way it did. So I was really happy to play Vemba. I mean, it was very different than the other side, like Final Fantasy. You two mentioned Baldur's Gate before we started. I've only played a tiny bit.
It's like for me, Baldur's Gate. So I backed it. I'm one of the early backers when they released the early access, and they had the first act, so you could play the first act in the early access. And I played it back then, but directly while I was playing it, I was like, "Oh, it's not Divinity 2. Back out." But give them more time. And that was kind of the first sentiment that I had. But it was like the recipe, of course, was there. And then playing it now, or a couple of hours over the past few weeks, it's so incredible. They managed to surpass Divinity 2 in every way, which is incredible.
Divinity 2 for me is one of the best RPGs ever made.
Yeah, so they hit it out of the park, and it's and then that with the D&D IP on top, with a narrator that kind of is silly sometimes. So they embrace the silliness, and when you do a bad roll, the narrator will jump in. It feels like a bit of a GM kind of thing.
That's cool.
So they did that
I
very
didn't know
well.
about that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
very cool. Excellent game.
How many hours in are you?
I'm like, I think I just finished the first area, so maybe in 8 hours or so.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm definitely it's next on my list.
I have my Asus ROG Ally with me to play it on.
Oh,
apparently it plays well on controller.
It plays well on it. Yeah.
I'm playing it on Switch, on Steam Deck. Sorry,
Steam Deck.
So that's and it works.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm excited for that. That sounds good.
It's coming on PS5
next month.
I'm gonna buy it twice.
Yeah.
And it's delayed on Xbox. You heard that story?
No.
Wow, why?
It was going to be on Xbox, but apparently because Xbox requires parity between Xbox One S and Xbox One X, they can't get all of the features
Fair,
to run on the S. So they had to delay it to figure out how to get the co-op working.
That's really a challenge on the Xbox.
That's a rough one. Yeah.
The tech specs quite.
Anything you're looking for? I mean, I'm just gonna quickly get it out of the way. But like the new season of Destiny is starting. Like every year they do this thing. They do this thing where they announce the new season of Destiny during Gamescom. So I'll be walking through the local media market while watching like the computer retailer while watching the trailer on my phone on like 4G. I'm very excited. They're going to be announcing the final year of Destiny. These two, I don't think you play.
Year of Destiny.
No, I'm
the final year of this story of Destiny.
Okay.
So it's technically it was a 10-year plan.
Okay.
We're at the end of the 10 years.
Ooh.
So what happens next?
What
I don't
happens
know.
next?
Actually, last time I was on here, I talked about wanting to start, and I haven't. I'm sorry. So
Come join.
I'm
You
out.
can play
I'm
this
out.
game
I'm
forever.
going to stick with Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay, Baldur's Gate is big enough.
Let's see
big
what
enough.
happens when they finish the 10 years. Maybe we'll join after that.
What are you excited about for the next few weeks?
Oh, next few weeks. So I'm like 80 hours ish into Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about
I
Zelda.
took a little bit of a break to finish Final Fantasy and Vemba, and I went back now to Tears of the Kingdom. I need to finish that game. I'm still enjoying it.
It's good.
It's so much.
I kind of
Amazing.
bounced, but I need to bounce back.
Yeah, I'm in the process. I think I did a lot of the things that's on the surface, and now I'm clearing out Sky and Underground.
So I did the mistake of getting in Underground, and I just want to finish it before getting out again, and I just can't. So
I'm in the depths now as well.
I think like the Underground, like you collect enough battery power, and now you can like create all kinds of like flying thingamajigs that would make the Sky a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've did it proper. So now I have like doing the surface, familiar areas, familiar worlds. So I know what I'm up to. Then I can go down to the floor with like, and I have all the abilities. I have a lot of the stuff going on, so I can collect all the zonite that I need.
Such an amazing game. Like you still see GIFs on Twitter, people making crazy
new
contraptions.
I have a feeling that all the games we spoke about today, like Zelda, Baldur's Gate, Vemba, and Final Fantasy, these are all going to
be Game of the Year.
All of that, so we'll be talking about all of these in our Game of the Year deliberation.
We didn't even get to talk about movies.
And of course,
I
Destiny.
did see Oppenheimer. I did see Barbie. We should talk about that.
I haven't seen
I
either.
watched Turtles with my kid.
I want to watch
amazing.
Turtles. Oh,
yeah,
I'm very
Turtles is
excited
good.
about that.
I loved it.
What are you excited about for the next few weeks before we wrap it up?
Games. I'm just gonna play Baldur's Gate. I'm sorry.
That's
I'm not even looking at the rest of the year.
That is the game. That is the game of video games.
So,
like I think we're good.
I'm good.
I can imagine that. I think we have to wrap it up.
Yeah. So where can people find us, Rami?
They can find us on the internet. If you go to thehabibis.com, I think the logo will be on the screen at some point as we do this.
Yeah.
You can listen to all our episodes. We have over 100. We launch on a sort of irregular schedule, just whenever the three of us, can get together.
Whenever we can, inshallah.
Games industry is a ridiculous place. Like sometimes we have time, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're traveling, sometimes we're not.
Yeah.
If we can get a good group of people together, we'll record an episode. And thankfully, people like Ahmed are always there to hop in. So
thanks for
we also have a Discord as well.
We do have a Discord, which you can also find at discord.habibis.com.
Yeah.
And if you want to just send an email to make Osama, who wasn't here today, very happy, you can email us at info@thehabibis.com.
And you're on Twitter? Or X, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to mention that place anymore. It feels kind of dirty. But you can find us there, _Habibis.
You can send us an X. Send them
an
X.
Post me an X.
Astaghfirullah.
Can you X me this evening,
THA_Rami.
You can find us individually. THA_Rami.
At Fawzi Mesmar.
At Salamatism.
Salamatism.
That's such a good Twitter.
On that note, like we can do a segue off of his Twitter handle.
yeah, because we have to say salam.
So join us whenever we post something in, but for the time being.
That was another episode of Habibis. Salam.
Hello.